My life docent belonged to only me. It seemed like she had briefly forgotten that. Yeah, you're right, I am sorry. Henry gently petted Nemu's head. Okay, I forgive you. Nemu looked up at her and smiled. Thanks. Were you a good girl while I was gone? You didn't make too much trouble for NFI, did you? Or Simone, sis, I am not a baby anymore, right NFI? Ah ha ha. I had to take care of the members of Argus tribe, so I couldn't watch her the whole time, but I think she was good. Argure treating me like a kid too, NFI. Anyway, more importantly, Henry, NFI stinks. Nemu, it's the smell of herbs, isn't it? Didn't you say your hands smelled after you crushed them? Is the smell that makes your eyes sting from the herbs? Well, there are other things too, like alchemical items I use as an apothecary. But Nemu, don't make it sound like I smell bad, but you do. His face froze. Well, it's just that the odor clings to your clothes. I think you'd be fine if you changed out of your work clothes. Henry hurried to explain what Nemu meant, and Enfire's face softened a bit. I don't really have other clothes. In Rantle, I pretty much just wore this. Then should I make you some? Huh, you can make clothes. What do you take me for, NFI? Of course I can make simple clothes. Oh, I've always bought mine, so it seems amazing that you can just make your own. Well, thanks, but anyone in the village, Nemu, we should start practicing. Oki, all right. Will you go on home ahead of me? I want to talk to NFI about something. Nemu put a hand to her mouth and her eyes sparkled. Okay, got it, I'll go home now. Good luck, NFI. She dashed excitedly toward the house with a wave. She sure listened well. I wonder if she is hiding something, Henry murmured as she watched Nemu go. Nah, I doubt it. More importantly. What did you want to talk about? Of course, I have an idea, since I participated in the village meeting yesterday. Then this will be quick. Henry skipped needless explanation and told him what had happened at the headman's house. She also told him about her worries and what Lupus Regina had said. Everything. After listening to the end, Enfira looked her square in the eye and said, "You should do what you think is best. I'll support you either way." He continued, "That's the kind of canned reply I don't want to give. I want you to do it. Why, I am Ure, not just a village girl. Ure Henry Emot, leader of the goblins. Ure thinking that the goblins aren't your power, but in the end they are. I'll answer the question Lupus Regina told you to ask the goblins. In an emergency, if Ure not the headwoman, they'll carry you off and escape before their fighting power is too depleted. They wouldn't do that. They'll say that while Ure's safe, but if the time came, they would. They told me so." No way. Henry stared at Enfira in disbelief. She thought he had to be lying, but she couldn't detect so much as a hint of exaggeration. The most important thing to them isn't the village, but you. But if Ure the headwoman, then the village belongs to you. So they'll stay here and fight as long as they can. That's the only thing that changes, but it does make a difference. By the way, they told me to take your sister and follow them in case that did happen. Henry, you can confirm with them if you want, but don't tell them you heard anything from me. I am not going to ask them, she declared. Enfira parted his bangs and looked at her with wide eyes. Are you sure? There's always the possibility that I am lying. No, there isn't. You wouldn't lie to me. I believe you. But I guess that's just how important a summoner is, huh? I think it must be partly because it's you. You buy weapons for them and stuff, right? It seems only natural that they would place the highest importance on such a kind master. The villagers never gave the goblins anything. They think of them as monsters you summoned. It's only natural to pick the person who sees them as individuals over the people who don't, right? Of course, the villagers didn't necessarily think of them that way. But when she thought back, she had never seen any of them showing their gratitude in a concrete way. But sometimes the villagers treat them to lunch. That's a thank you to you. They were just saying, we'll handle the lunch cost and prep time. Have you ever seen any of the villagers call a goblin by their name? She hadn't. She thought it was because they just couldn't tell them apart. But maybe they never even felt like trying. When she thought that, an indescribable loneliness came over her. Oh, but the forlorn feeling wasn't the only thing in her voice. There was a determined gleam in her eyes. She had made up her mind. Yes, I think you'd be a great headwoman. And if you become headwoman, the goblin situation will change pretty quickly. Will you all help me? Of course, everyone will help you. Okay, then I am going to pay the headman a visit. When you've made up your mind, it's better to act right away. Enfira laughed at her declaration. It was a soft, bubbly laugh that showed he understood she wanted encouragement. Okay. Get going, Henry. She turned on her heel and said, then took a step down the path to becoming the new head of Khan. Watching the village intently from the sky, Lupus Regina saw people clustering in the square. Henry went out in front of everyone and said something. It was nearly impossible at this distance to pick up her voice. Perhaps she had finished talking. The villagers began to clap. Ha ha, so that is how it turned out. She did it, this is great. He. What are you having so much fun with? Lupus Regina turned just her head to face the voice behind her. Oh, if it isn't T. Yuri. Are you flying with a magic item? Yes, by the power of a magic item Lord Aints lent me. What is so? This is Khan. You got scolded over it, right? That is right. But things just got really interesting. What things? There is a new leader in the village now. For the humans here, that means new history, a potential for new beginnings. But imagine the looks on their faces if just at their grandest moment, the village got attacked and everything burned up. A crack appeared in her beauty. Anyone who saw it would have said that something evil or horrible was flowing from it. I thought you were getting along with the villagers. Yeah, we get along. I just get so excited when I think about all my human pals getting crushed like bugs. So you Ray a total sadist, Right up there with Solution. Why you all like that? Shizu is the only saving grace, honestly. Although Entoma isn't so bad either. Lupus Regina laughed at her leader's complaints and said, Oh village 1T you fall for me? Urug I am so tired. Henry tossed the little chalkboard she was holding onto the table and flopped over. She heard some quiet laughter. She turned just her head to see her teacher, Enfira, smiling at her as she had guessed. Nice work, Henry. I did work so hard. I'm not good at using my head, but you have to be able to do simple reading, writing, and arithmetic. Henry groaned. She'd been told there were minimum education requirements for becoming headwoman, so she was getting private lessons from Enfira, but her head felt like it was going to burst. Wow, there's so many letters. Someone came up with this system just to torture me. Don't say that. You can write your name now, right? And Nemu-s. Yeah, I am a little happy about that. I don't suppose that much is good enough, is it? Sorry. Unfortunately, you're still at the most basic of basics. It had only been 5 days since she started studying, so they hadn't gotten to any of the important stuff yet. Henry looked like she couldn't believe what she had just heard. Oh, don't make that face. Once you get the simple stuff down, it's just application. So this actually is pretty important, yes. Wow, you do seem tired though. Shall we call it quits for today? Henry stood as if she'd been waiting for the word. Yes, I have an early day tomorrow. Good thinking, NFI. With a wry grin, Enfira erased the squiggly worm letters off the chalkboard. Okay, have a nice rest. We'll start studying at the same time tomorrow. I am really happy that you were willing to take time away from experimenting to help me, but I can do anything to thank you. Yes, that is how it goes. Someone once told me that the teachers hated by their students are better than the ones who get thanked. That is a lie. That is definitely a lie. Ah ha ha ha. Okay, I need to get going. Good night, Henry. Okay, good night, NFI. You should go home and sleep, not experiment. Acknowledging her remark with a smile, he left through the front door. After watching his magic light recede for a little while, she went back inside. The dark house suddenly felt terribly lonely. Ah, I am tired. She sluggishly took off her clothes and got into bed. Her sister was making adorable snoozing noises next to her. Henry closed her eyes in peace. She was sure she would fall asleep right away because she had worked her brain so hard. And she was right. Perhaps only a few seconds after she closed her eyes, she was out. How long had it been since she had fallen asleep? Some far-off noise awakened her from her light sleep. 3 knocks. Then, a little while later, another 3 knocks. When she realized what that pattern meant, her eyes popped open in the darkness. Her extraordinarily lucid brain recognized that she was in her own house. She jumped up. Her sister jumped up at the same time. Are you okay? Yeah, she sounded scared, but she could still function. Get ready now, okay? Turning on the light would be a waste of time, so they simply started preparing to run. The ringing of the bell came to them on the wind. They got their things together quickly. This was the result of practicing over and over. It was also a product of the fear from the previous attack. Arg's story probably planted the possibility in their minds too. Nemu, you run straight to the meeting hall. I'll be there as soon as I finish my duties. Without waiting for a reply, she grabbed her sister's hand and flew out the door of their house. The bell still signaled an emergency. It meant attackers had been spotted. She couldn't completely abandon the hope that this was just another drill, but the agitation in the air denied it. It was the same atmosphere as when the knights had attacked. When they neared the meeting hall, Henry gave Nemu a push. "Now go," Nemu replied briefly without turning around and ran as fast as she could. Henry felt the urge to follow her, to at least see that she made it into the hall safely, but at the meeting several days ago, she had become headwoman. Now she had to act with the entire village in mind. She wished this had happened before she assumed the position, or long after. "It's almost like some evil god is watching us," she thought. This really was the worst timing. "Boss lady," a goblin ran toward her. "What is it? What happened?" "We spotted some monsters on the edge of the forest. They might attack the village." "Understood, I'll follow you." Led by the goblin, Henry raced toward the main gate. Just behind it was the fence they set up only at night. Henry saw that the goblins were all present. Equipped with the new weapons and gear she bought for them, they looked stalwart like true veteran warriors. As they approached, Henry could tell by the stench on the wind that the ogres were there too. They had their brand new brutal-looking clubs firmly in hand. At about the same time Henry arrived, the self-defense squad members gathered from around the village, along with Brita and Enfira. Arg and 2 goblins from his village, who had recovered psychologically, came too. "Is this everyone? How about Lizzie? Is she coming later?" Enfira's grandmother Lizzie was a fairly powerful caster. It wouldn't have been strange to have her help defend the main gate. "No, she's not coming. I had her go to the meeting hall. That place is important too." The villagers nodded with conviction. Their families were gathered in the meeting hall. They needed to fortify those defenses as well. "I had members who aren't great with bows go there. If you have any available hands, I'd like some of you to go as well, just to be safe. But what do you think?" "That's not happening." Jujumu shot down Brita's request with zero hesitation. The villagers who lived with the goblins knew there was no malice in his reply. Henry swallowed tensely, and the goblin leader continued. "There are a lot of monsters. Not only ogres, but lots of different kinds. It's too dangerous to split up the force. We don't have an accurate count. Brita, they ray in the woods, so we don't have an accurate count. Keeping that in mind, our current count is 7 ogres, a few giant snakes, a couple wargs, creatures that resemble barghists, and something huge at the rear. Wargs, snakes, and ogres working together. Is there a druid behind them?" A warg was a magical beast that looked like a larger wolf. They were smarter than wolves, and encountering one in the woods meant a bad time. There's a good chance. If they have a caster, this'll get tricky. They'll have a ranged attack method too. Should we commit our full force? If so, I'll go call Grandma. I'm not sure that's a good idea, boss man. The meeting hall is the sturdiest building in the village. It was made that way so people could hole up in there if needed. It's the village's citadel, so to speak. It's far better if we have someone there to protect it, so we might have to retreat. Where should I position myself? Lead the self-defense squad, Brita. I want you to explain my orders to them in an easy-to-understand way and take other actions as appropriate. So we'll be the second line of defense against the invaders. First will be the archers, and then we'll be behind the barricade, thrusting our spears. Yeah, do that. But wargs and barghists are quick. If we leave them be, they'll cause a lot of damage, so aim for them first. And if there's a druid, can you all pull back? I have no objections, but will you have enough manpower if the self-defense squad withdraws? If we ray lucky, it'll work out somehow. I see. I'll make sure everyone is ready. Can you prioritize taking out the druids, or whatever has a ranged attack, so we don't get hit in the rear? Man, I used to be an adventurer, but I don't think I've ever seen villagers this brave. Well, I've been thinking that ever since I came here and saw them doing archery drills at S, because they were attacked once. They hated how powerless they were. Henry had been listening in silence, but now she chimed in to speak for all the members of the self-defense squad. And in reality, no one ran away, even if they were pale in the face. They had to make a stand. They had to defend their village. Most importantly, their loved ones were behind them. By the way, Brita asked, do we think that since there are so many of them, it might be some creature who can muster a force, like the giant of the east or the magical serpent of the west? We can say for sure that it's not. Jujumu answered Brita's question in a low voice. If that was the case, then it was possible that Arg and his tribe drew in the monsters. Maybe that's why he had answered so quietly, so the self-defense squad didn't get upset at Arg and his tribe. They had already told the villagers that the giant of the east and the magical serpent of the west existed. They said those two were each as strong as the wise king of the forest. They only saw the immensely powerful magical beast once. after the Dark Warrior had captured it, but it made quite an impression on the villagers. If they thought they might have to confront a monster equally strong, against which they had no chance of winning, they might get frightened. The magical serpent of the west uses some kind of magic, right? That could be hairy, Brita grumbled. Enfira agreed with her. Monsters have less than 10 kinds of magic they can use racially, but it can get tricky when you're dealing with the type that can acquire spells, because of how diverse their repertoire gets. There might be something they can use to get over the wall. I am glad you and the goblins can use magic, but when the enemy can, it feels like they cheating and rewind. The villagers winced. Don T tell Sir Gawain I said that. At that, many of the villagers cracked a smile. Maybe they a little calmer now, thought Henry. Too relaxed was no good, but being too nervous would prevent them from fighting with their usual strength. The current atmosphere seemed just right. Don T worry, guys. All you have to do is shoot your bows from the rear. We'll be the front line. The goblins had trained the self-defense squad with that purpose in mind, so that was the most appropriate position for them. It was extremely difficult for such a small village to procure enough swords and shields for everyone. They didn't have enough gear to properly equip the self-defense squad for fighting on the front line. In the first place, they were called the self-defense squad, but they were still just volunteers from the village. Their members had some muscle from their habitual use of hoes and spades, but that didn't make them skilled with a weapon. Only people with ludicrous potential could become strong enough to defeat monsters while training only during their spare time between farming tasks. Having concluded, for the above reasons, that they couldn't train the villagers up to the level necessary to fight on the front line, the goblins taught them how to use bows and arrows. This allowed them to act as the rear guard. Although their skills had improved, and they could hit a target with decent accuracy, they didn't have the strength to draw powerful bows. These bows conveyed superior penetrating ability, so they probably wouldn't be able to deal damage to monsters with thick hides. Still, if they were lucky, an arrow from a volley might strike a weak point. All right, line up so that you can aim for the area right on the other side of the gate, just like we practiced. Your job starts after the gate gets broken down. We'll have you line up with the self-defense squad members and use spears. Consider anything Brita says an order from the boss lady herself and obey. Okay, leave it to me, that's the spirit. No running away, you hear me? Fight for your life, of course. I owe her my life. I don't even mind taking the farthest position out front with the ogres. Stupid kid. If we left it all to you, the enemy would break through right away. Save the heroics for when you race stronger. Getting snapped at by Jujumu seemed to frustrate Arg, but the self-defense squad comforted him. Henry was relieved first, that the villagers didn't think Arg drew the monsters, and second, that they seemed to be accepting him and the others in his tribe. They were the most recent outsiders to come to the village. They weren't treated cruelly or avoided, but the wall between them hadn't completely disappeared. Seeing them like this, it seemed that wall would soon disappear, perhaps once they got through this battle together. Ironically, combat was the best way to strengthen their bonds. Arg felt that wall directly, which is why his passion to fight was so strong. He wanted to improve his group's standing by contributing to the village. In human society, those who took initiative and shed blood were respected. Considering their tribe's position hinged on their performance in this battle, Arg and his comrades' determination was understandable. NFI, I have a favor to ask you. Henry moved next to him and whispered in his ear. Could you back up a bit for a second? Okay, got it. In that case, there is something I want your group to do, Arg. I am going to give you these alchemical items, so I want you to put them to good use. Enfira opened his bag and showed them a bunch of bottles and paper packages. Throw them at the enemy. You won't be able to hit them from too far away, so it'll only be useful in medium-range combat. But can you do that? Leave it to us. We got this. As if he had been waiting for Arg to take the bag, the voice of a goblin in the watchtower sounded. Those guys out there are on the move. No doubt about it. They headed for the village. If they strained their ears, they could hear the savage growls of various monsters on the wind. Okay, self-defense squad, get ready. Be careful, boss lady. You too, boss man. Yep, got it. Please don't let anyone die. You can count on me. Let us go, Henry. Henry ran off with Enfira as an escort. They were going to make a round of all the houses to make sure there were no villagers who hadn't been warned about the situation. After seeing off Henry, the goblins transitioned into battle mode. First, self-defense squad members, please get into position.